Hello, I thought I would record a video for you guys to show how I'm making a thing, how I'm making wings. So, I'm going to show it off by doing one of the more limited um birds. So basically the first thing that you want to do is find the I normally find it via the character BP, find the skeletal mesh, and you export that skeletal mesh to a folder, and then you look into um, animations, and you want to try and find an idle, a flying forward, and if you can find a dive, get that, uh, and oh shoot, what's the other one? Give me a sec. Okay, so I found it here. So the four animations that you need are a diving, gliding, an idle, and a flapping. So like fly forward. Now, the lantern bird or featherlight does not have all those animations. The only thing that it has is an idle and a flying forward. So we're going to be making those four animations based off of the two animations that we can work off of. Um, so once you export those, you can go ahead and open Blender. And first you want to import the lantern bird, so the main mesh with all the stuff. Thanks to Unreal, I don't know if it's out yet, but it should be relatively soon. You should not need any of the LODs except for LOD 0, so you can delete all of those. The other thing, let me find it real quick for you guys. So you guys can do this whole merge thing by hand, but one thing that I found to make the process even easier is this. So go to GitHub/VR Voyage Blender Bones Merger Releases, blah, 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 blah. So look up Blender Bones Merger by VR-Voyage and just download the latest release and install that plugin to Blender. Because that will make this a lot easier. So before we do any of the restructuring, what we're going to do is put all the animations that we need onto the skeletal mesh. So now we are going to import the forward and idle animations, and you can see that they're just skeletons. So how do we fix that? Well, first thing that we have to do is go to our main skeleton here and just hit A to select all the bones in pose mode, and then insert keyframe. So you just key all your bones, and then go back to object mode. You can go to this one, and I think this one is flying, right? So then we select all the keyframes here and go to there and paste them in. And there we go. There's one. Now we can delete the flying animation one, and we can grab copy, and go over to here and paste. There we go. So now we have both animations. There's the flying and there's the idle. So now we can start doing stuff. The first thing that we are going to do is go into edit mode, and we're gonna basically pick out all the bones that we don't want to exist. So Alt Z is how you can get into this kind of X-ray mode. So I don't need the knees. I do want the wing clavicles. I don't need the hips. Don't need any of these tailbones. Let's see. Is that a tailbone? It is. Okay. I'm pretty sure those are wings. Yep, don't want to select those. That's the hip. Spine 1. Let's see what the wings are parented to. Looks like they're parented to this. Wing clavicle, which is parented to spine top. Okay, so that'll be the last one we select. So let's go ahead and select everything else here in the head. And I think that's everything. All the other bones we want. So let's select spine top. So that's the last thing we selected. It's in that lighter yellow. And then if you installed the plugin, click merge with active. And it merges all of those bones to your last selected bone. So now if I go into pose mode, you can see like it poses the entire thing, which is exactly what we want. And then with that bone selected in pose mode, go ahead and delete all the keyframes because we want that to stay still. And then there we go. We have a body that is still. Let me fix that transparency. There we go. We have a body that is still while the wings are moving. Another mesh that you might want to import to make things easier on yourself is the male TPV skeleton, which you can find in the dev kit. Make sure it's the right one. The one that is being used by the pawn character child thing. So anyways, pull that in. I personally just take LOD0 and Alt P to clear its parent. Delete everything else here. And so I just have like a model here to kind of work off of. So the first thing that we're going to do before we get into that is we're going to like have all of the animations done and ready. So let's see. I think for now I will actually, because these wings are a bit different, it's not on a perfectly level body, so I'll actually do this in a little bit different order than I normally do. We're going to go ahead and start mutilating this thing. So again, Alt-Z to go in X-ray mode, so you're selecting all the faces. I think I'm going to actually go like this. Like that. There we go. Should be pretty clean. Now I go like this. And select all these. basically you just want to select all the kind of feathers that, or the kind of area that's like, you know, gonna be pressed against the body or that you don't want from the creatures. So you can do something like that. Make sure I'm not actually selecting anything else. And that's pretty good. You don't have to be exact. But before we just go on deleting it, there's a way to make sure you don't have any floating vertices. You make a new group and assign it to that. So all that's assigned. And then what I'm going to do is go to the feathers and actually deselect the feathers. And then delete the vertices. So that kind of leaves a shell. And there's still some vertices under that, as you can see. But those are fine. That should not leave any floating points. And it did, but only a few. And it looks like I can go back and fix that. But for now, we go back to the groups thing and select so that we have that. And then Control L will select connected. And if we move that away, you can see that it, you know, fully removes any connected feathers and stuff like that. So makes it a lot easier. So now let's go ahead and fix up these little things. So basically what I'm doing is I'm selecting by material. So I'm selecting the main one and the feathers, and then Control I to invert selection. And you can see these are the weird floating points that don't have anything, and we can just delete those. And there you go. So there's the perfect mesh that you have. We can also go ahead and remove the eye refractive material because there are no eyes on this bird anymore. And we are left with this thing. So now let's make the human visible again. Hello. And now we're going to position this. Tell you what we're going to do first. Oh, this looks different. Featherlight. I'm just going to save it as untitled, but at least save your work. So first thing that we're going to do is kind of position where we want the wings to kind of start and be. So something like this. Yeah. Because we're not going to change the bones. We will change the thing in the center, but we won't be changing the bones. So that's pretty good as is. So now we need to kind of correct the center. So let's go ahead and get into that. With the thing selected, Control Tab and go to Sculpt mode. We go ahead and hide the skeleton. There we go. And we go to Elastic Grab. On Elastic Grab, we can start to deform. Actually, before we do that, we are going to put symmetry mode on, the little X all the way up there. Okay. So there we go. So now we've kind of deformed that main area. And again, we're going to save. The next thing, yeah, that's kind of clipping in, but you don't need to worry about that. It doesn't really matter. So the next thing that we're going to look at, let's see, C-spine top. You can rename this if you want, this bone. And I might go ahead and do that just to show you. It doesn't really matter, because it's just what it's going to appear as in the menu for the player. But if you want to rename that base bone, what you can do is, let's see. So C-spine top is what we want to rename. So we go into edit mode and then hit F2 while we have the bone selected, and then we can name it like wing underscore base. Now another thing that you need to bear in mind is you need to go to the model and make sure that the group is renamed. Blender should take care of that now. It didn't used to in the past, but I always like to double check. You don't have to. So yeah, you can rename the bones to whatever. Now, this is specifically for the wings. This is not going to hold true for any other kind of part. But for the wings specifically, I'm having a bit of a brain fart. Give me a sec. For the wings specifically, you don't need the whole bone hierarchy chain like you do for every other type of part. All you need is the chest bone. So if we go into here and find, I think it's this one, the chest bone, and then invert selection with Control I and delete everything. We can then select this bone in object mode, then select the other bones and Control J to join that bone to the other armature. And now if we go into edit mode, you will notice that our hierarchy has changed a bit, but we need to change it even more. So we take the chest bone and, or actually take the, there we go, the wing base, and then the chest bone, and then Control P, make parent and keep offset. The wing base should be parented to the chest bone. The chest bone should be the very first bone that everything is parented off of. So there you go. Now that is a skeletal structure that is ready to bring over. We just need to get our animations done. So let's start working on that. And as we do that, we can go ahead and remove the human parts because we don't need that anymore. So or actually, I want to remove that, but I want to keep this one around so I can pose how I want. Yeah, I could see that looks kind of weird, but we will fix that. So again, 4 poses needed. The first one that we can work on that's already pretty much done is flapping. So, let's see. So that does go too far forward, but that's okay. We can fix that. Wing feather. No. Where is the shoulder? Shoulder should be good. Yeah. Okay. So what we're gonna do is go here. Okay. Gonna delete those frames. Ah, almost forgot to select this bone as well. Left wing shoulder. There we go. So, I'm gonna go ahead and say that that sucks. Because it does. 19. Okay. So we're going to do like that. We are then going to go back by 5. Like so. Okay. Ooh. What does that feel lower? Okay. Turn that off. Okay. So now we can select everything. Or almost. So 24, so 20 to 24. Actually, I think that's best left as is. And then we will bring that down a little bit. End frame of 30, so we can look at it. And that looks pretty good. And it's not hitting the arms anymore. Okay. It might even, yeah, 28 is a duplicate frame, so it needs to end at 27. I did notice a very slight hitch. There, that's even smoother. So there we go. There's the flapping. The next would be the idle. So let's go ahead and work on that. So we're going to kind of do something similar where going to get rid of basically everything. Okay. Individual origins, please. Let's see. 90, a 90% flip. That's kind of extreme. It's a little hard to see what I'm doing. I'll do a 70. I think it needs a little bit more. 75. There we go. Okay. Insert keyframe. And paste it here. The other thing that I'm going to do is go to object mode. Oh wait, pose. There we go. Now I can see it a bit better. We do want it angled up a little bit. So kind of like that. Something like this. Okay. So there is the flapping, and this is the idle. Let's go ahead and look at all the bones here. That is a duplicate, and that is a duplicate, so it needs to be 104. There we go. So there's that. So now we have 2 more animations, and they can basically be poses. In fact, the idle can basically be a pose as well. If you don't want it to animate like this, you don't have to have it animate like that. So the next one is going to be glide idle. So we're just gonna get like this pose. This looks pretty good. So I'm just going to, whoops. Can I just copy pose? Thank you. And then I'm going to, oh, whoops. There we go. So that's the gliding pose, and then we will need a diving pose, which honestly, I like to do something like this where you get somewhere between like the final of the flapping pose and I don't know, you just find whatever you think kind of looks good. So something like this, and then copy, pose, paste, insert keyframe, and make sure it's 2 frames. Okay, so now that we have all 4 animations, there's the flapping, the idle, the gliding, and then the diving. Now we need to export each one individually. So, what we're going to want to do first is select the man and remove him. Make sure the only thing left is the wing bones and the wing itself. And then save. And then you're going to delete all of those keyframes. So all that we're going to have are the flapping keyframes. Now we're going to export as FBX and default. Basically just make sure you select only these 2 and the animation is checked. And then we can call this FL wings underscore flap and export that. And then undo until you get your animations back, and then delete all of those and drag this down to 1, and that's your idle animation. So FL wings idle. There you go. Now undo. And this is our glide, and it needs to be 2 frames. It cannot be 1. Otherwise it won't import correctly into Unreal. So glide. Okay. And last but not least, dive. Oh, I forgot my fucking keybinds for a second there. Dive. All right. So now that we have all of that done, I can go ahead and minimize Blender. Actually, before I go AFK on Blender, I'm gonna get back to this state and save again. That's why you want to save, just in case you don't have a number of undos, because if you want to make sure you can go into like your file and increase your maximum amount of undos if you can. If you can't, that's why you fucking save. Anyways, now it is time to crime. We are going to go down to parts, wings, and we're going to make a new folder. Feather light. I want that to be a capital L or not. Okay. So we want to open the featherlight thing here. The first one we're going to drag over is idle. And there's a reason behind that, because when you drag something in with an initial pose, it kind of takes that as the entire mesh's resting pose. Because you see, because we're dragging it in and there's no skeleton like it, the skeleton should be on none. And you want to make sure that you're importing animations, blah, 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 import. And if you did everything correctly, there were issues with the import, I don't care. You should get this. So you should have a skeleton, a skeletal mesh, and an idle animation. And that all looks good. We're also going to rename this because we don't want it to be called Wings Idle Skeleton. We just want it to be called FL Wings. Same thing for here. That can just be FL Wings. Great. Now we're going to drag in glide. And it should select the same skeleton, but if it doesn't, you can go ahead and reference your skeleton here and make sure that you select import only animations and import that. And then we're going to do that for flap. And dive. Okay, for consistency's sake, I'm going to remove the underscore A and IM. Then we save that. And then we can go ahead and check out all of our animations. So dive, that looks good. Flap, that looks good. Glide, good. Idle, wonderful. Okay, so there are our 4 animations done. So the long/hard part is done. The next thing that we need to do is start prepping. So I will have the exact names. I keep forgetting them, so I'm going to go back and check really quick. Let's see, Griffin. Yeah, I'll check these wings that I did. Where are you? Here you are. Okay. So, on your featherlight wings, you want to find the tip of the kind of wing elbow, and add a socket, and you're going to call it R or L, depending on which one you put it on. This one's L. L underscore tip underscore socket underscore 0. And it needs to be exactly named like that. Otherwise, this will not work. And what these sockets are for is they are telling the system where to put the gliding effects. Like the little streamers when you glide. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to add a socket. And then this one's going to be R, tip socket 0. And so there's your left and right sockets. That should handle the effects. The next thing that you want to do is, and I'm going to double check the name here again. I don't want to get it wrong in the video. Okay. It is called wing flap. WING-FLAP. So we go into the wing flap animation. And in here, we are going to add a notify state, or no, add a notify, new notify, capital WING, capital FLAP, wing flap. Exactly like that. Yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so then that is going to be the sound. So like you're probably going to want it right at the beginning of the flap. So I'm going to place it right here. And there we go. So that should take care of activating the sound and all that other stuff. Now, I'm not sure if I am going to give away the code for my flight wings. I think, I don't know. I will maybe make like a checkbox or something to allow you to put my well, no, because then you would have to use my add-on. I don't know. I'll think about it. Either there will be a way and something in the description or comments of the video detailing how to do it. There will either be a way to reference the buff or it'll just be included as its own. So, but we'll get to that in a bit. First thing you want to do is go to base assets and copy CR_example. And let's rename that to CR_FL wings. Let's open that up. Let's select the skeletal mesh, click import hierarchy and import FL wings. And that should import the wings there, and then that's our control rig made. The second thing would be the animation thing. So it will probably be in base assets, or maybe I'll kind of have one of these wing examples here. You're just going to want to copy the animation blueprint from whatever example wings are there, and rename it to Featherlight. And then you'll also want to assign skeleton and assign it to the skeleton that you newly created, FL wings. So that's gonna look like a ball of shit. Don't worry about it, we'll get there. The first thing that we want to do is re-reference all the animations. So idle, we plug in our idle. Glide, we plug in our glide. Dive, we plug in our dive. And flap, we plug in our flap. The next thing will be the flap sound. So that's why I still have this lantern bird referenced. So if we go to the sounds, we can find the lantern bird fly sounds, cuddle, attack, idle, lay egg, light, move, pet, startled, swim, tame, toward. Lantern, bird, fly. Here we go. So you want to go ahead and grab a copy of the sound cue where it flies. And I really don't like it when they do this. So I just put a random without a delay. And the other thing that you want to make sure is that it is on smaller for the alternation settings and the class is creatures. The other thing that I like to do, which you don't have to do, this is up to you, is I like adding a modulator. Let's see, wait, which one is it? Okay. I like adding 2 modulators for ease of use for me. Before the output. The first modulator is for pitch variation. So it has these pitch values that kind of randomize it a bit. The second one is to raise the pitch because it's a smaller wing. I don't think that Featherlight will need this. No, Featherlight wings are already small, so we don't need to raise the pitch anymore. But there we go. Modulator. Yeah. So that's that. Now that we have the sound, we can go back to the animation blueprint and actually reference this sound. Help if I reference the right one. There we go. There we go. And that should be everything done there. The final thing that we need to tackle is the material. So let's go ahead and look at that. So first thing first, we still have the lantern bird open, and that is why. That way we can really quickly open the material. So we need the base and the feathers. So first things first, let's look at the parent. ASAAB lantern dino and ASAAB lantern dino feather. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of show you guys how to base it off of the base assets or the core assets that I put here, because with my stuff, it will work better with colorization if there's ever any issue with colorization. So let's just say that there's not any issue. And we can try it out and see if there is. But I'm also going to quickly run it through if it is. So basically, every dino should eventually, if I like double click the parent and I'm on the aberration lantern dino, okay, so actually no. This one has its own master material, which would need to be edited. But if you are decent at materials, I can really quickly show off to you the things that you need to edit. So you'll need to make your own base material with a couple settings, and you don't have to do this. This step is simply to prevent you from having to make your own mask, which will massively increase the size of your add-on, because if you didn't know, the reason for the largest reason that makes your add-on size big is texture files. So this is a way to get around having to use those. So if you open up your Dino material, so you'll like make a copy and then make a copy for every step up the parent chain. Eventually, anyways, you can basically copy this. This is a switch parameter. Those are clamps. You do this to the colorization mask, and then you plug that into the model colorization map. Additionally, you run a desaturation immediately off of the albedo map. And I think that's mainly it. I did a little simple thing here, but you shouldn't need to do that. But that is if we need to do that. If I do need to do that, I will run you guys through it. But we'll see. I probably won't, and I hope I don't have to. So we're just going to quickly copy over the materials like so. And we will actually start to set this up. We are in the final steps. Finally, almost an hour in. So let's go down here, and this is just like my picture taking area. So there we go. That looks pretty good. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. I'm also going to open GIMP. GIMP is also free. So we open that up. First we're gonna double click to edit our screenshot at its full resolution. Shift O, click and drag to kind of select all that gray shit. Delete. Now Control A, C. And then go here, hide that layer, Control V, Shift S. And rotate it like an idiot because there we go. Okay. So something like this. Scale. There we go. So the resolution that you're going to want to set this image at is 256 by 256. It does not need to be any more than that. So I'm going to call this FL wings icon, and we're going to put this in here. Okay. And we can drag this in here. There we go. Featherlight wings icon done. Now, finally, we can go to data's parts. I'm going to just make my life easier and duplicate these. You will have to copy them manually. Featherlight wings, there we go. So, open up that handy dandy auto translator, and let's type in Featherlight wings, and we're going to copy that one and paste it here. We are also going to put in our icon. This is where you will attach the fly buff and make sure it's on passive. If, like, I don't know, I'll look into if you guys want to use a different buff. I don't know. Anyways, the next thing is the materials. So let's, it's actually easier to see it on the feathers most times. So you open up the feathers and then you select your wing skeletal mesh and then click this little thing and it should show you the wings. So let's see what color regions we use. It looks like they've already shown us, but I'd like to double check. So we're definitely using 0. We're using 1. I can't tell if we're using 2. We're using 4. We're using 5. I do not think we're using 2. 2 is blue, so I guess we can look at this and just see. No. Okay. So we are going to copy over those colors. So first we set everything to black and 0. Oh my fucking god. Okay, so we're back. One crash later. And we're gonna copy over the colors one at a time instead of opening up 2 windows. Because someone is a little particular. So you just copy the color to all regions. Make sure the alpha on these is all the way at 1. If the alpha is on 0, that will tell my system that that color is not being used. So make sure it's all the way at 1. Now, we don't have any masks here, so we can ignore that. The group, you're going to want to look at the handy dandy community part groups and copy the wings from here and then paste it in there to make sure the wings are consolidated into one group. Next, we are going to reference that. Reference our animation blueprint. And then we can get to the spine part. So let's open up the skeleton. And L, wing, elbow. Okay, just making sure that it didn't undo some of my stuff. The first thing that we're going to need to do is copy the bone name of wing base so that the players can customize that. Make sure to select recursive on all of these. And then, did I do clavicle on that one? I did. So I'll do the left wing clavicle. And the right wing clavicle. There we go. So that should be good. The left and right wing and the wing base. Obviously, what bones I can edit is up to you. You can go all the way down the wing chain if you really, really want to. I don't. So that'll be good enough. And then we test. So that should be good. So this is a part where you will need to do a local cook of the mod. You click this pot thing right here, and it gives you instructions on how to local cook. So you'll local cook your add-on and then test it in game. But I don't need to do that because I have the files to CA core. Right. So the first thing that you will notice is that it is not actually appearing here. That is because there's one thing that we need to do and that we can only there's an easier way to test this basically. If you want to test this in kit, all you have to do is drag out um a human male TPV skeleton like in an actor that you make, and then put the wings as a child so that it's actually running this code, so that you can check this and you don't have to do it in game and go back and forth, which would be a pain. So there is a way to do that. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and show you how to do it really quick. So let's just make a blueprint class actor, call it temp test. We're going to open up temp test. We are going to find the male TPV skeleton and drag that in here. Wonderful. Now we are going to go to our featherlight, make sure it's parented, and then take the animation blueprint and pop it in there. So, interestingly, that looks okay. It shouldn't be. Of course it is, though. Anyways, I don't really know, I guess, how to test that. Huh. I thought for sure that would work. Interesting. Well, you might just have to test it in-game. Sorry. But basically, what you need to do is go in game, and I recommend starting off in here with the scale at 1. And then you see like I can see the wings, they're just not rotated properly. And I don't know why every single wings like does this, and it does it differently, but it does. So you can take the, I guess we'll do it over here. You can take the rotation and just start to work on that. Normally a 90 rotation will do, or it may have been negative. No, yeah, a 90. So normally, like the default that I suggest you trying first is rotation 0, 90, 0, and then 1, 1, 1 for scale. And that normally gets it to right about kind of where you wanted it. Like that's, I think, exactly where I placed it on the other one. Maybe a little low. So what I can actually do is expose the translation, set it to add component space, and then make it go up a little bit. There we go. Here we go. That looks about like I want it. So I'm sorry, you'll have to be doing a lot of back and forth, and some more guesstimations as opposed to really quick editing like this. But I guess that's just the downside of the wings. I don't know why it wouldn't be grabbing the parent component, but it's not. So, maybe I'll look into making a tester for you guys so you can basically test this out, without having to, like, go back and forth. Surely there's a way. Anyways, so whenever you finish finagling it exactly like you want, bear in mind it doesn't matter too much, because, well, that's the beauty of my system. Players can, well, if they, ooh, that's interesting. I'll have to debug that. Looks like wing base is not resizing. I will look into that. But it should be working now. You can flap. You can go up. Alright. Coolsies. So now I'm going to look into the bone scaling and see what I did wrong. Be right back. Just to make sure. Oh, I did forget to do something. It took 2 seconds for me to find this. But look at the note that's right here. Make sure to reference your own control rig. Yeah, sure enough, I have not referenced my own control rig, so I need to go down and see it's on Griffin wings. I need to go ahead and change that to the control rig that we made for the Featherlight. It kind of makes me curious if if that's accurate or not. Like if I do, no, okay, that still doesn't work. Interesting. It should. Oh, wait. I know why it's not. Because it's not ticking. Because if I drag that into the world and then hit play and then look at it and I'm like, okay, I'm going to adjust something like that. Yeah, so you can do all the adjusting in-game kind of like I was, just by dragging the actor in the world, and then you can, you know, scale and recompile and see it like changing and be like, oh, okay, that's good. Oh, okay, that makes me feel better. So you guys can have a bit of an easier time editing and making things look good. So you just would have to do it by dragging a temp test into the world instead of doing it through CA menu, which, I mean, same difference. But anyways, now that I actually have it going through the right control rig, I should be able to go in here and change the pitch and the roll and everything like that. So yeah, and that all works. The next thing we're going to do is test the colors. So the way I like to do that is set them to black. So we'll do like that as black. We'll do this as black. We'll do this as black. And this is black. Everything looks black to me. All right. Looks like we don't need to do any special coloring, so that's good. Whee! And there's the Featherlight wings done. Looks like those black spots are a little too black. I would lighten them up a little bit, but you know, that's just up to the player customization. So there you go. There's the wings, fully done. Yay. That only took us an hour and 15 minutes almost. But thanks for sticking around. If you have any questions, put them in the comments and I will try to answer. Have a good one.